Hello fellow Nuppets and Beat people, I'm George, the Gentleman Rocker. Welcome to Modular Monday. In this episode of Modular Monday, we take a look at the other pre-patched setup thingies inside the Neutron and the Patchbay. As I said in the last episode where we ran through the sound generation in the Neutron, there are some other pre-patched thingies that I want to talk about with you, but there's also this Patchbay that maybe needs a further explanation, and I will try that. So the Patchbay may be kind of hard to wrap your heads around when you never used one. The Neutron, and with it a lot of other analog synths, are basically Eurorack modules. So the oscillators just produce a static wave, the filter just cuts off stuff from signals, and the envelope generators, LFOs and other stuff just produce control voltage. So control voltage. To make it easy, let's say the control voltage ranges from 0 to 5 volts. And it's the amount of power sent. So 1 volt sent to the CV for the pitch of the oscillator will let it play a note. 2 volts is the same one, just 1 octave higher. That's where 1 volt per octave gets its name from. The filter, for instance, needs voltage for its settings. So the pots on the synth just do that. They add voltage. In theory, all the pots just take the highest voltage and attenuate it. And you can add to that via the CV in. So if you set your filter to a sound you like, have an envelope that produces control voltage to add to that, you have the filter opening up as the voltage rises. In normal analog synths, these are connected internally. In modulars, they're not at all. And in semi-modulars, like the Neutron, they are connected as long as you don't patch them in another way. So patching a cable to the envelope out, for instance, breaks the pre-patched connection to the filter cutoff and sends the voltage through the cable. This one could then be plugged into an inverter, which just takes positive voltage and makes it negative. The negative voltage is then at the out of the inverter, and you can patch it to the in of the filter, for instance, and you just change the sound drastically. The voltage that added to the cutoff and opened the filter now gets subtracted and closes it. And as that's kind of useful, the envelope out of envelope generator 2 is pre-patched to the inverter. So this way you don't even need to patch the envelope 2 to the inverter. There's just an inverted signal of the envelope at the inverter out if you haven't plugged anything else in. And there's another pre-patched setup that is often used. The sample and hold is a module that takes an incoming signal, looks at its values when triggered, and holds that value till it's triggered again. Normally you'd patch a noise source into it, and the noise generator just spills out random different values like ever. So the noise is all over the place with its values. And sending it into the sample and hold, which is a pre-patched setup in the Neutron, gives you a random value every time the sample and hold gets triggered. But it's one that holds its values for the time till it's triggered again. And as you can never have enough LFOs, Behringer pre-patched the LFO to the mold in. This way you can use the mold 1 and 2 out as two sources of LFO CV. You may even patch the second mold to the inverter to get the opposite of the normal LFO. I hope this gives you an idea how the Patchbay works, so what you can do with it, and why some of the internal connections are made, as they are really useful, and that they're not set. You can break them with just patching it another way. So you can basically or reprogram the whole synth. For instance, if you want to have a droning sound, you could use the envelopes in different ways to change the filter. You could have the LFO open, close the filter, have it inverted to send to other stuff. You can get really creative, and the best idea is to experiment. There's one thing that is really nice, and that's why I think the Neutron is a really good beginner synth if you go into modular or patchable synth generation stuff. It's a problem if you patch an in to another in, as they both send voltages, and that could be bad. On the Neutron you have the ins on one side and the outs on the other. So as long as you take an out and send it to an in, you can't really do stuff wrong. It may not do what you think it does. It may not do anything at all, maybe based on the settings of the pods. As I said, the CV in always changes the stuff that is set with the pods. So you may have to check whatever you're patching to is set up to do. Out to out is bad, so don't do that. As I said, it's really nice to have this separated. Normally on a lot of synths you have just some plugs shattered over the synth, and it's not too easy to see what is an out and what is an in. So I really like this setup, and you don't even need that to make great sounds with it. So if you send MIDI to this one, you get really nice sounds. You have a lot of stuff to set up. But there are also things like the sample and hold that you just can't use without patching. So you need to dip into the patching sooner or later. But yeah, it's experimenting, so experiment and it will give you sounds. Maybe not the ones you like, but they will be there. So in the next week we'll start building my moving setup, and I will tell you what that is. But till then, I hope you check in, like, subscribe, and yeah, just be awesome. I'm George, the Gentleman Rocker. See you later. Bye.